We know his face, the wild hair, the warm eyes, the playful tongue sticking out as if to say, "Don't take me, or the universe, too seriously." We know his equation, Aya Bach MC12. It's printed on t-shirts, coffee mugs, posters in high school physics classrooms. But Albert Einstein was far more than a genius who reshaped our understanding of space and time. He was a human being, deeply flawed, endlessly curious, and profoundly humble. And much of what made him extraordinary had nothing to do with equations at all. Most people assume Einstein was a prodigy who aced every test and memorized every formula from childhood. But the truth is he wasn't good at memorizing, not as a boy and not even as a grown man. He struggled with rote learning his entire life. Phone numbers? He forgot them. Appointments? He missed them. Addresses? He once had to ask a cab driver to take him home because he couldn't recall his own street. For Einstein, memory wasn't intelligence, wonder was. And that wonder was nearly extinguished early on. He later confessed that school, with its rigid discipline and emphasis on obedience over curiosity, almost killed his love of learning. "It is a miracle," he said, "that curiosity survives formal education." To protect that curiosity, he turned to music. Every day, often for hours, he played the violin. Not to perform, not to impress, but to think. When words failed him, when logic hit a wall, he let Mozart or Bach carry his mind into deeper places. He called his violin Lena, and he believed that music helped him approach physics not just with his brain, but with his soul. Some of his greatest insights came not at a desk, but in the silence between notes. And when inspiration struck, he didn't reach for a pristine notebook. He grabbed whatever was nearby, a restaurant napkin, the back of an envelope, a scrap of paper from his pocket. His ideas weren't born in ceremony. They emerged in the messy, ordinary moments of life. That's who he was, a man of profound depth who lived with startling simplicity. He never cared about appearances. Socks often discarded as unnecessary. Hair left to its own rebellious devices. Clothes worn until threadbare. Fashion, fame, fortune, none of it interested him. In fact, he refused countless endorsement deals, even when offered staggering sums. He believed that attaching his name to products for profit would cheapen the very idea of intellectual integrity. He'd rather live modestly than sell his soul or his signature, and that integrity extended to his science. He never patented MC12. He never sought to profit from the equation that would one day power both nuclear reactors and atomic bombs. He gave it to the world freely, believing knowledge belonged to humanity, not to shareholders or governments. That choice cost him immense personal wealth, but it never troubled him. For Einstein, science was a sacred pursuit, not a commodity. Yet, despite his global fame, he remained remarkably absent-minded in daily life. He forgot meetings, lost his keys, once walked into a wall because he was so deep in thought. But in the realm of ideas, his focus was laser-sharp. He saw gravity not as a force pulling apples to the ground, but as the curvature of space-time itself, a radical idea that redefined reality. He imagined riding alongside beams of light, falling in elevators, bending starlight around the sun. His mind didn't just solve problems. It reimagined the stage on which the universe played out. But even geniuses have limits. Einstein rejected one of the 20th century's other great scientific revolutions, quantum mechanics. He couldn't accept a universe governed by chance. "God does not play dice with the cosmos," he famously insisted. He believed in an ordered, comprehensible reality, not one ruled by probability and uncertainty. It was one of his rare blind spots, a philosophical stance that put him at odds with younger physicists like Niels Bohr. Yet even in disagreement, he remained kind. Once after class, a struggling student stayed behind, too embarrassed to ask for help. Without a word, Einstein sat beside him, quietly solved the problem himself, and handed the student the correct answer, never revealing who had done the work. His compassion wasn't limited to classrooms. He held strong political views: pacifism, civil rights, anti-nationalism. He despised blind obedience to authority, having fled Nazi Germany in 1933. In America, he spoke out against segregation, calling racism a disease of white people. He corresponded with W.E.B. Du Bois, supported Zionism but warned against nationalism in Israel, and urged world government to prevent future wars. These views made him a target. The FBI opened a file on him. It grew to over 2,400 pages. Agents tracked his speeches, scrutinized his friendships, even considered barring him from re-entering the U.S. But Einstein never stopped speaking. Science without ethics, he warned, is dangerous. Knowledge must serve humanity, not destroy it. Beneath the physics and politics, there was a spiritual seeker. He read Spinoza, Schopenhauer, the Bhagavad Gita. He spoke of a cosmic religious feeling, not belief in a personal God, but awe at the harmony of natural law. He called this reverence the highest form of religiosity. For him, the universe wasn't just knowable, it was deeply, beautifully rational, and that rationality could only be accessed through relentless questioning. He loved sailing, not because he was good at it, but because it gave him peace. He'd drift for hours on lakes and seas, often capsizing, once needing rescue after drifting too far. He couldn't swim well, but he didn't care. Out on the water, there were no lectures to give, no reporters to dodge, just wind, waves, and silence. And in that silence, curiosity reigned. He believed it was the true measure of intelligence, not test scores or IQ. "I have no special talents," he once said. "I am only passionately curious." That humility, that refusal to see himself as exceptional, is perhaps his most overlooked quality. In the final days of his life, in a Princeton hospital room in April 1955, Einstein lay dying from an abdominal aortic aneurysm. He refused surgery, saying, "It is tasteless to prolong life artificially." On his bedside table were unfinished equations, still seeking a unified theory of everything. His last words were spoken in German, his native tongue, but the night nurse didn't understand the language. And so the final thoughts of one of history's greatest minds were lost to time, spoken softly into the quiet, never recorded, never translated. But perhaps that's fitting, because Einstein's legacy was never about the words he left behind. It was about the questions he inspired. The courage to wonder, the refusal to accept the world as it is, the belief that imagination is more important than knowledge. He wasn't perfect. He struggled with his marriages, made mistakes in his theories, held on to beliefs longer than he should have. But in his imperfections, we see something rare, a genius who remained human. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all, because Einstein wasn't born a legend. He became one, not by memorizing facts, but by never stopping to ask why.